hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Most of us blacks, or Negroes as he called us, really thought we were free without being aware that in our subconscious, all those chains we thought had been struck off were still there. And there were many ways where what really motivated us was our desire to be loved by the white man. Malcolm meant to lance that sense of inferiority. He knew it would be painful. He knew that people could kill you because of it, but he dared to take that risk.
He was saying something over and above that of any other leader of that day. While the other leaders were begging for entry into the house of their oppressor, he was telling you to build your own house.
Woo-hoo. Build your own house. That's all he was saying. We gonna get that one day, people. We gonna build our own house. It's gonna be something incredible. I'm playing with the levels right here. Apologize. My setup is a little off. I gotta start using the newer version of the YouTube studio that they're putting out there that they're gonna force us to go to. But we're gonna make it do what it do tonight. Welcome to the Thursday night edition of the No PC Show. Excuse me. I know everybody's looking at the news 24/7 now with this coronavirus thing going on here. And I guess everybody should be a little concerned. But I think I just went to the store and people were just acting stupid, like it's the end of the world. Arguing in the parking lot, fighting over carts. Stupidity. But I guess, maybe they were the ones that was listening to Trump saying, oh, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. Then he had to come out the other day and say, I think it's real. I think it's real. And so everybody is buying up all the water, all the toilet paper, all the different things in your house. We used to keep water and stuff here ourselves. I mean, they have declared this a pandemic, meaning this is worldwide, but they also know about the incubation period. And so a couple of NBA players tested positive. What they're trying to do now to slow down the spread, since they know the incubation period is a thing called isolation, where they're trying to keep people away from each other, especially in large crowds. So the NBA has canceled all their games, suspended their games, and NCAA, they had set on going on with March Madness, they finally came to their senses, and now they've also canceled their games for now. I know a lot of senior homes, like the one my grandfather's in, is in a lockdown. So this is a serious matter. If you're healthy, hey Corey, if you're healthy, most likely you can fight it all, kind of like the flu. They came out yesterday in Congress and said anyone who needs to be checked out for this will not have to worry about the cost, because they want to put an end to it. So if you walk into a hospital and say you've got these symptoms, you should be able to get a test for free. I think what happened here is a lot of time had passed before anybody realized what was going on, and they're saying maybe a month or more that people had already been arriving in America with this virus just unknown. There were a lot of people in China, including I think 12 doctors died in China. Behind this, there was one doctor who survived who was telling the story of how they started treating this or trying to figure out what it was and not realizing they had put themselves at risk and exposed themselves to the virus, and 12 of those doctors died. So, be smart about what you're doing out here. Everybody should already been washing their hands and practicing safe practices as it is. There's only 36 cases in Illinois so far. I don't know if it was irresponsible of the main guy from the Homeland to say, well, possibly 160 million Americans could get it, and we're just trying to fight that they all don't get it at once so it doesn't overtax the system. So that's kind of an indication that, yeah, maybe something is coming. Protect yourself, protect your family, and just move on with your life. Another story I wanted to cover is the mother of 3 of Floyd Mayweather's children was found dead in her car outside her home. She was only 40 years old. The coroner is still trying to determine what went on there. It's just that's just kind of weird. There was a history of drugs with her. I think Mayweather did a little time in jail behind a altercation with her also. But we ain't gonna speak ill of the dead. We're just gonna say bless her soul, and hopefully, well, I'm pretty sure that Mayweather money is gonna go get his kids. I mean, if that's the type of man he is, that he would go and do that. Which kind of rolls us around to what we want to talk about tonight on the show. I was watching a few shows today, Zoe Williams and some other shows, and everybody seemed to have that same topic about manhood. People just want to talk about it. And I've had discussions with people over time about manhood and women raising men. Now, I'll say it this way. Yeah, women can raise boys. Women don't raise men. No matter how great the woman is, the boy will seek out men to get their idea of manhood from. They'll start tuning out the women. I remember tuning out my aunties probably around 12, 13. You kind of stop hearing women and stuff like that. But you're trying to discover manhood through the eyes of women, because in our community, about 75% of the households are headed by women. And not knocking on women, but that's a situation that was put there by design, and we kind of fell for it. But when I was listening to Zoe Williams and everybody today, I said, let me check. There was a clip I saw with Umar Johnson, and if you want to see that clip, like I tell everybody, if you want to see a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, you need to come over to the YouTube side. I got the link over there. Come over to YouTube, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and come on over so you can take part in everything. You can even call in. You can call in, express your viewpoint. We'd love to have you. I'm going to share this link real quick with you. It's about 5 minutes long, so be patient.
Stop blaming the youth for all of the problems.
Yes.
in our neighborhoods and start looking at the society that they live in.
Yes.
Now, as a single mother like myself, I have 3 young black men, and I'm so proud of them, ages 16, 17, and he'll be 21 in October. Now, how can single mothers like myself, how can we raise our young men into being black men? How can we raise them into being black men?
3 main messages that I would have for single black mothers. All parents, but especially the mothers, because y'all tend to be the predominant caregiver, caretaker because of the war against black males. Number 1, stop letting him off the hook for his lack of discipline. A lot of our boys are not being prepared for white racist American society by their mothers who love them so much that they forget to teach them accountability, responsibility, and the laws of consequence. America is waiting to swallow our sons up. And the hitch that they're going to use to destroy them is their lack of discipline. So it is the job of the mother to understand that although you must love and nurture him, true love is to teach him that there are no second chances in this world. So from the time he's 2 and 3 years old, when he messes up, there should be a consequence. Teach him that for everything you do, there's a karmic response that follows. Spiritually, politically, economically, so forth and so on. Our mothers, to some extent, are contributing to the effeminization of black boys because they're not providing them with the accountability, the responsibility, the structure, and the discipline, which is to say that a lot of our mothers are raising their sons to be the exact type of man that she herself would never want to marry.
Can I raise my hand like my grandma did?
The opposite of your dream mate. You ask the mom, what type of man do you want? Now, why are none of those traits in your son? Which means that you're making him into the worst nightmare for someone else's daughter. And what is often not understood is that boys learn to be men by mom because daddy ain't there. It's not fair. It's not fair. Our sisters have to raise these sons on their own. But I think it's ironic, though, that when the young sisters complain about not having an adequate spouse, it was a female who nurtured her husband for her to be the failure that he is. So number 1, raise them, stop loving them. Number two, teach them to respect divine African female energy. Too many black boys have a profound disrespect for the black mother. It has been codified in hip hop. It's been codified in every aspect of African culture, from the way black women's bodies are sexually objectified by black women themselves sometimes, you understand? But our boys need to understand that regardless of what that woman is, regardless of what she did or did not do with her life, you must respect the divine female essence within her. There is no disrespect for black women whatsoever. Mothers have to drill that into their sons' heads, because what I'm finding is most boys learn to disrespect women from their own mother. It's the mother who are teaching these young men, don't trust them hoes. Don't trust them skanks. You see, when the girl gets pregnant, oh, she trapped my son with that baby. But your son participated in the trapping. If it was a trap, he's not absolved of his responsibility. Why are you beating down on that sister instead of beating down on your son as well, or holding them both responsible? We all know the stories of how the mothers run to the son's defense even when he is wrong.
That's right.
So the 1, make him be a man. 2, make him respect woman. And 3, teach him that his destiny is in his own hands. That means he has to be emotionally self-controlled. Too many black males are going to jail and to the cemetery by not being able to control their emotions because mom exemplified emotional dysfunction herself. You see that? So the boy learns to behave like his mother, although he think he's acting like a man. So behind this hyper-masculine persona that is projected by our young men is a feminine energy that resonates behind that. You see, that's why the thug can kill so quickly. Where's your discipline at? You murdered him on emotion. You see that? You did the dope on emotion. Half of what our young men are doing, they're doing it on emotion, which is often aligned with the feminine principle. We need the emotion. We need the feminine principle. We got both, but he's a man, so his masculinity should dominate. Teach him that there's a time and a place. Teach him that his fate is in his own hands. He cannot blame his father being dead or in jail or incarcerated. You cannot blame your mother for being on welfare or for being poor. You have the same 24 hours a day as everyone else. You have the same 2 feet, 2 hands as everyone else. You have the same brain as everyone else. So when you look at the raw materials necessary to make a success of yourself, there's no excuses for why you cannot be one.
No excuses. Like Dr. Umar said, and I wrote a paper along those same lines some years ago, not blaming the women because they're doing the best that they know how. They're trying to take on a role that the men should be taking on. That's why it was so important to destroy the men in front of the women in slavery, and then set up systems in America that would further tear apart the family, because they knew how important the male presence was to be in order for a young man to be groomed into a male. Quite often, the women they raise a type of man. They tell them about education and they try to explain the sexual thing to them, and they ask them to be respectful. But a lot of times, young boys, they learn from the camaraderie of being around men in the barber shop, because their father is taking them into an environment and they're soaking it up, and they're learning the rules and regulations of manhood. No matter what the woman feels about it, and that, I often tell women when they say, well, the father's no good. Okay, well, you lay down with a no good dude. That's got nothing to do with the child. You all are equally responsible for a child. And once he gets to a certain age, it would probably be easier to demand that the man step up than for you to try to continue to raise a young man on your own when he needs things from his father. It's very hard. Even in my life, I grew up pretty much in a house full of women, and I love my aunts and grandma and all that, but they couldn't give me what I needed, so I had to go and play football and play basketball and do karate, do all the things where I could be around men. I didn't want to be around women in the house all the time, all the yik yak and all this other type of stuff that would go on. I wanted to be around men. I wanted to see what it meant to be a man. And maybe I was a little disrespectful here and there. I had an aunt, and me and her used to argue all the time, but I loved her. And you find a lot of women, they will argue with their sons and hit on their sons. And I'll tell them, men don't really hit their sons like that. No, that's not the... We try to talk to our sons and our young men and explain to them how a man should behave. The hitting should really never be a part. You may threaten him, like you may kill him according to what he does. But for the most part, men don't beat their sons. I mean, you're a little boy, you might get slapped on the butt or something like that if you're getting way out of line. But for the most part, hitting your son is not going to get you the outcome you want. Dr. Umar laid down some things as far as women who are in these situations. You know, one of the biggest things is stop letting them off the hook. Say what you're going to say and do what you're going to do, and that's it. Okay, well, you're not doing this no more. You ain't taking care of this. You can't do this. But you have to be balanced with it also. Let I would say go upon it instead of just taking everything away, saying, look, son, You got all these things that you have are privileges. It's not me that's going to kick you off the team. It's you that's going to kick you off the team. Because if you don't keep your grades up, you're off the team. There's no discussion. Point blank. If you're not doing the things that you're supposed to do, the repercussions are you're not going to get to do what you want to do. I like the part where he says, teach them there are no second chances in life for black men. They'll be better off because then they won't be so lackadaisical in their thought process. They'll say, okay, I already know going in, I'm going to have some issues here. Dr. Umar said one of the things, he says, a lot of times women will nurture their young men into failure, and they will create a man that has none of the qualities that they would want in a man. But instead, now they have taken this boy and raised a man-child boy with values that they would not accept from a man. But now that boy who's become a man is now put on some other woman and becomes a peasant in the other woman's life. So the idea, a lot of the ideas, especially with the education and all that type of stuff, a lot of times the women will take their daughters and they will push their daughters into academics and tell them you got to do this. And they start from a very young age with the girls, pushing that degree program in their head, getting the grades, being a lady. So they know everything about what it takes to do with that young girl. And as men, we may not know a tangent of what it takes. I know this because I raised 5 of my younger sisters. And I had to seek counsel of women all the time to figure out what to do with these girls. So it's not a knock when I say the boys need a male figure and the females need a female figure. That's the way God made it. I don't know why we had to argue and fight about that. I think one of the things that bothers the women is that they're actually afraid for their sons because they actually know what society has. And that was one of the things that was very prevalent in slavery, that they would take the mother with her children out and watch a slave being beat or killed. And then that would put the fear of God in them to tell their boy, you can't go against master. You got to be this way. I'd rather save you and have you as a subservient person than to put you out there and put you in danger. But as I used to tell them in the mentoring class I used to do, you can't really protect him from the danger. You only can prepare him for the danger. And a lot of women didn't get that. You only can tell him what to look out for, because you can't drive him every day. You can't pick him up every day. He's not learning to be a man that way. Oh, well, the streets are so bad. Well, the streets have been bad for years. And I say pray and let him go on his way. Because I've seen cases of mothers getting killed with their sons. If they want to get you, they're going to get you. That's just the way it is, unfortunately, in our neighborhoods. And that's because we got too many boys running around the neighborhood thinking they're men, full of emotions, full of themselves, shooting, killing, drug dealing. These are all byproducts of failed economics. Well, it's not really failed according to America. America says we intentionally made you slaves. So if you were a slave you benefited me. When you weren't a slave, you were not a benefit to me. So now I had to create systems that would make you a benefit to me again. So we got the election coming up, and we're fighting over two white men that I don't care what they say on TV, could probably care less about black folks, because Biden signed certain bills. Bernie admitted to signing certain bills. Bernie doesn't believe in reparations. So none of these people that we're going to get to vote for have our best interest in mind. So we had to start raising politicians. And we can't raise politicians with that, let's spread the wealth mentality, because we don't have any wealth to spread. There was a young man, William Calloway, that ran against Leslie Harrison, and he had some good ideas and all that type of stuff, and you can tell he was raised right. But there are other powers that want to support the current alderman in this neighborhood. And I talked to some of the young people about it. There's a organization in my neighborhood down from the store, and I had a conversation with someone, and I was like, you know what? I'm not saying that some of the people in your organization are bad. I'm saying, why are we always so quick to team up with other people when our agenda has been sitting on the table long before? And the only thing I can come up with is they haven't seen leadership from a black perspective, so they don't know leadership from a black perspective. So it's hard for them to follow a black perspective that they haven't seen. Everything sounds nice coming from other people. And that's something that we're just going to have to learn to fight. I always say we are the leaders that we're looking for. And that's going to take time, and that's going to take, perseverance. Talked to a couple of young men today, and I tell them, I said, my job is to have a conversation with you and maybe put something in your mind that when you're sitting back and you're smoking or relaxing or whatever, you'll say, damn, that dude said something and it's really resonating with me. I need to get myself together. That's the ground roots conversation of the village. It's not our job to turn our heads and look the other way and let these young men behave in a manner that is destroying their future and our neighborhood. We have to engage. We have to talk. We have to be there. I've given some food. If I had a couple of dollars, a young man came home from jail. He was telling me about being in jail. All I said was, welcome home, brother. Oh, man, well, I need this and I need this. I said, I don't have all that, brother, but what I have, I will share with you. And I gave him enough. He wanted to get some toothpaste, a toothbrush, and some other stuff in the meal. So I gave him that $10. I said, check back with me in some months. I don't know what my situation is going to be, but I don't want you to go back out here and do something silly to go back to jail over $10. And that's what we have to do. When they come home from jail because of a system, and I'm not making excuses for them, because of a system that set traps and then they fell into those traps, that we're turning our backs on them. Now, we got to encourage them to do the right thing, and we got to let them know, hey, if you're doing the wrong thing, I ain't going to be able to support you, brother. As long as you're trying to do the right thing, I'm going to support you. But if you're trying to do the wrong thing, I'm going to call you out on it. I'm going to have a conversation with you. And when people do stuff, you don't have to put it all on Front Street. That, they egos are fragile. and you want to still give them the respect of a man, because a lot of times a lot of this emotional outcry and shooting and killing is because they feel inadequate. If they got a family and they can't get a job and they can't take care of their kids and they can't take care of their woman, that I can see that making you feel inadequate. They got to feel like they got a place or somebody they can come and talk to about life. And they may not catch it at first, but then they may catch it later on. I had a young brother, I talk about him all the time. He's an Israelite. And we had these conversations. And one day he comes in and says, hey, I thought about what you said, and I'm going to go ahead and try this and do it another way, because I'm thinking what you're saying is actually a good way to go for now. And so then that makes you feel good inside, because you were able to sit and have a conversation with somebody that maybe didn't have a father around or a brother around or someone around that was going to engage them. And that's what I do. When people are like, well, what have you done? I had about 5 conversations this week with young men that might have been on the wrong way or the wrong route, and I think that conversation changed them, which in turn probably changed their family's life, which in turn changed his life, and then that went on down the line. So where you may not see it right now, that conversation could be passed on to someone else years from now when they tell the story of, I remember this dude, man, I used to talk to him all the time, and he told me some things, and I'm going to tell you the same things that he told me, because that's what helped me out. This is how we raise our young men. We have to engage them. We have to talk to them, and we have to listen to them. And when we reply to what we've listened to, we say, have you thought about it this way? Because you don't want to take a man's thoughts away from him. You want to give him something else to think about. And that's what makes us tribal people, the village, when they said it takes a village to raise up the children. Because we live in a society that destroyed our great-great-grandparents, grandparents, and so on, and that has attempted to destroy us. There's a poet from Chicago, Oscar Brown Jr. He's got a poem called The Children of Children, and I'm going to play that at the end of the show shortly. But I just say this to all the women. Talk to your son. Don't yell at him. Set guidelines and stick to those guidelines. Don't threaten to send him to his father. Send him to his father. Have a conversation with the father to let him know your son needs you. Just like Furious Style and Boys in the Hood. Doesn't make a difference if you feel he's ready or not to be a father. It makes no difference what you feel. That's his son. Take his son to him, drop him off, and say, deuces, son, you with your dad, you're in good hands. Mama about to go over here and live her life. Your son ain't gonna be mad at you. He may call you and cry and say, man, I miss it. Okay, well, son, I tried to give you an opportunity to do right, but I think now your father needs a chance to be in your life and to help you to do some things. It's going to be okay, son. I got to go now. Mama love you. Deuces. This is going to help your son to become a man. Because the hunt is on. Society's not changing for any black man, and it hasn't changed for any of us, no matter how great they were. Mandela, Malcolm, or Martin. Time marches on. and the game has not changed that much. So thank you all for joining tonight. Thank you for listening. I'm going to share this poem by Oscar Brown Jr. Love, peace, soul. We out of here.
So nice he had to come back twice. Please welcome a gentleman who's been doing this thing for over 50 years, a singer, a playwright, and also a deaf poet. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the Windy City's very own Oscar Brown Jr.
The children of children, by the time they're half grown, have habits like rabbits and young of their own. The children of children from their mama's laps hop down to the ground to be taken in traps. The children of children are trapped by dark skins to stay in and play in a game no one wins. The children of children, while still young and sweet, are all damned and programmed for future defeat. The children of children are trapped by adults who fail them, then jail them to hide the results. The children of children, unable to cope with systems that twist them and rob them of hope. The children of children of sin and the shame keep pairing and bearing, and who do you blame? The children of children cry out every day. They beg you for rescue, and what do you say?
Step out of the car.
No, you don't have the right.
Step out of the car.
Do not have the right to do that.
I do have the right. Now step out or I will remove
I
you.
refuse to talk to you other than to identify myself.
Step
Now if your woman ain't no revolutionary, she'll persuade you to be a fucking slave for the rest of your days. She'll be grooming you on how to behave, teaching you how to coon and buck dance so that you can be safe. If that brother ain't no rider, soldier, no provider, molder of young minds, check it out, you got yourself a bitch. Think about the time that you invested in him. If he's wearing them skinny jeans, you a lesbian. For every 100 black women who ain't locked up, it's only 83 black men remain. Take away 1.5 million black men who might have benefited their women and their children. You don't know a war when it's waged against you, when it makes you drive your baby mama to the clinic just to kill your own. Ain't no legacy to leave behind, cause ain't nobody sitting on your throne. You motherfuckers are asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't stop, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, you asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't fight, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, nigga. Sandra Bland was a rider. She wouldn't have committed suicide, and you a motherfucking liar. It would not be wise to stop when you hear sirens and you see the police behind you, but you don't wanna die. They gon' shoot you if you run. They gon' say that you was going for the police gun. That's why they shot you like 120 times, but you was still coming, so they put another bullet in your lung. Them devils got you praying while they murder, because they know you on that bullshit. They steady with them full clips and body armor. They kill your women in the street, cause they figure you too weak to do anything about it. You some shit, getting fucked in your sleep. They poison you every time you brush your teeth. You don't care, you behave like a slave. A bitch from the cradle to the grave, on your knees with your hands out, begging cause you won't. You motherfuckers are asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't stop, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, you asleep in a war zone, living a nightmare, dying in your own home. If you don't fight, you gon' lose what you got left. I'd rather die trying to fight for my last breath. Freedom or death, nigga. Freedom or death, nigga. Fuck that. Freedom or death, nigga.
If you just listen.
Freedom or death, nigga. Freedom or death, nigga. Freedom or death, nigga.
Y'all jail.
No, I'm getting it. For what?